Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So I'm kind of like ill positioned here. Take my pillow out. I was relaxing. I'm trying to like not have a bunch of glare. Anyway, so we're here in, there we go, Southern California. It's actually not very sunny. They're supposed to be getting maybe some rain in different areas. I'm going to do a little experiment here. I bought this new Navy ball cap. It says midshipman on the back. I'm going to see if just putting this up here a little bit. This is like a primer on how to get rid of glare on your YouTube channel. All right, well, the hat will just be in the corner a little bit. So we're here in Southern Cal, actually the high desert, Barstow. It is hot as blazes. My reefer, actually, we got a temp control load as per usual, and reefer shut down because I guess it's building up too much frost in the box. So I cleared the alarms, restarted it, and ran a manual defrost cycle as per RA's instructions. So it's holding its own now, but it's just, I had planned on staying up in just west of Flagstaff because it's cooler up there. It's like 7,000 feet. But then my trainee was like, well, do you want me to just drive down to Barstow? And I was like, I was kind of asleep, and I knew I had made a plan, but I was like, yeah, that'll be fine. But then I remembered part of the reason I made my plan is because it's way easier on equipment, reefer, APU, and the truck itself, to cross the desert or be parked in the desert at night. So, but we're here, we'll just have to deal. We got a delivery down in the Yurupa Valley area tomorrow morning at 8:45. And then she's going to be off the truck. I'm kicking her off the truck in Southern Cal. Actually, her mom's coming to pick her up. And and she's already over 30,000 miles. So her mom's coming to pick her up. She's going to hang with her mom for a few days and then go, I guess, I don't know, mom's going to drop her off over at her house. But anyway, so that's the end of that. TNT student for all intents and purposes. So some stuff going on in Cali today. You guys know what AB 5 is. It's the bill that said that it basically reclassified a lot of independent contractors as, employees under California law. And I didn't have a problem with the bill at first because I'm kind of a pro-labor guy. However, because I think, workers do need rights. A lot of people complain about the situations at their jobs, but a lot of times the people that are complaining, they complain because they have basically no rights, either just the nature of the business they work at or because of the state they're in. So what happened was, this bill was originally based on a court case that, and legislators in California were like, well, hey, we need to protect workers because a lot of places will classify people as independent contractors when they really aren't, including lots of trucking companies. However, there are and the trucking companies that do that are the ones where you see their ad on Craigslist that says, you could be a 1099 or a W-2 employee. That's not a thing, right? That's not a thing, right? The employee or the independent, they don't get to choose. That's not how the law works. It's companies like that are trying to get out of paying taxes and paying unemployment insurance, etc. I've talked about this a number of times. So anyway, I like the intent of the bill, but like lots of legislation, there are unintended consequences. And so what happened was there were lots of unintended consequences, and lots of people screamed about this bill because a lot of people like the gig economy. They like being independent contractors, and candidly, there are a lot of professionals that are kind of independent contractors. I know people that are physicians, nurses, lawyers, occupational therapists that they're independent contractors. They travel or whatever, and they just do their gigs wherever they want. And that's the life that they like. So what happened is the legislature went back after there was this outcry, and they did a bunch of carve-outs. And they did carve-outs for dentists, and I think like doctors, lawyers, nail salons, you name it, excavation contractors, all sorts of people. But they didn't do a carve-out for truck drivers. And honestly, after all those carve-outs, after all those exceptions, it almost is like a bill aimed at truckers. And so, what happened is all these independent contractors that work, not all, but hundreds of independent contractors who work the ports at Los Angeles and Long Beach were basically on strike today. Although independent contractor can't really strike. Who are you striking, right? You work for yourself. But essentially they did shut some roads down. They did block caused some traffic jams. They were outside protesting. Not everybody came in a truck. They were outside protesting, signs, etc., putting it out in front of the public. And I'm totally down with that. And by the way, if you're going to be near the port of Oakland on Monday, that's when they're going to do the protest up there. There were some media outlets like Bloomberg that were reporting that they were protesting in Oakland today, and that's not the case. It was LA and Long Beach. Oakland's on Monday. So anyway, that's kind of my report from the ground here in California. There is concern that some of this is going to spill over to other places, other states. I know I have a friend who runs drayage operations at the Port of Baltimore and at the intermodal, the Norfolk Southern intermodal terminals in Harrisburg for his company. All he has is independent contractors. So if that spilled over into, if somebody like Maryland started doing that, I mean, the thing is, right, you have to, I think the law would have been better, much better, if it said you get a choice. You get a choice to be an employee or independent contractor. So maybe somebody that wants to do the drayage business, but it's just starting out, they're like, I'd actually like to be an employee. Maybe they want to start a 401k or have health benefits or whatever. But I think the idea that you're going to try to force people, which, it's kind of like training a bull and putting a saddle on it. It ain't going to happen, right? Those are not animals that get ridden by humans. Okay? That's why you only got to stay on one 8 seconds to be a superstar, right? Certain things are just not going to happen. A lot of these independent contractors are independent contractors because that's what they want. It's not what they are forced to do. It's not like their company is like, oh, go here, do this, do that. We'll tell you where to, and they control everything, but then still 1099 them. That's bullshit because those are employees. But I think the fact that there's no kind of choice. Now, I will say this. The lawyer in me will tell you that there are always ways around things, around regulations. Candidly, if all of these people that are independent contractors that are just maybe doing their independent contractor stuff on a Schedule C or whatever, if they would simply incorporate and then make themselves employees of the corporation, there are ways to get around it. But a lot of people feel like they shouldn't have to do that. And I kind of understand that. I'm just saying there is a workaround. There is a workaround. I don't, I mean, I don't buy into the, oh, this is hurting the supply chain stuff, because Americans can only see in front of, to the end of their nose. So if they go into their grocery store and whatever it is they wanted, Cool Ranch Doritos and a 12-pack of Bud, if that's in there, they don't give a shit if any other shelf has stuff on it. They don't care if there's baby formula. They don't care if there's carrots. They don't care about, if there's Diet Coke. They don't care. So, I think that, and a lot of the companies that hire these people are sympathetic. So anyway, enough about that. So I want to talk to you about something that I push on my trainees. I preach this. Got to stay hydrated. Speaking of hydration real quick. It is hot. It is really hot in a lot of places in the country. Houston, Texas has been in an incredible heat spell. It's not going to abate. Do this for me. Do it because you're a good human being. A guy came by the truck a few minutes ago, wanted to polish my rims. I said no. He's homeless, I'm sure. I said, but hey, would you like a Diet Coke? And you know how I feel about Diet Coke, but I said, he's like, yeah. I said, do you want 2 of them? He's like, no, one's good. So I gave him a Diet Coke, but I told him, he asked me if I had some money, and I don't, because I never have cash. But I said, hey man, when the sun starts to go down, I'm gonna go take a shower, and if you want, I'll get you some food, and I'll get you a shower. So I get unlimited free showers at Love's. Okay, I use them for my trainees constantly. I also have a pile of them built up at, Flying J and Pilot. If you go to a place where it's really hot, or even where it's just a little bit hot, if you see somebody that's homeless, ask them if they want a shower, right? It doesn't cost you a dime, and it's a wonderful thing for them. And when it's particularly hot, a lot of homeless people die on the streets because they can't ever get their body temperature. It never gets cool enough outside to cool their body down. A lot of people die, more people die because of heat than any other natural disaster in our country. More than tornadoes, floods, pestilence, more than, listening to Creed or Nickelback. All of those things combined kill less people than heat. Be a good human being and just ask them, do you want a shower? It costs you nothing. Let them go in and luxuriate in that truck stop shower. It may actually save their life. And it's certainly, if you don't like how homeless people smell, help them do something about it. That's my pitch. Okay, so let's talk about something that I constantly drive home with my trainees, and I'll have a new trainee here shortly, I'm sure. What lane to be in. So forever and a day, CDL instructors always have stressed, stay in the right lane, stay in the right lane, always go to the right, always move to the right. You get on a road, move to the right as soon as possible. Okay, I'm here to tell you that that's not good advice, and the reason it's not good advice is it's unqualified, meaning it doesn't give you exceptions. So I want to say this, and honestly, I've trained people that had other trainers, and when I start teaching them this, they're like, wow, that makes a huge difference. In urban areas, in areas where you have more than 2 lanes on an interstate, okay, stay out of the right lane unless you're going to be exiting. Why? Because I've never seen a highway where the center lane ended. That's the first thing, okay? The center lane doesn't end first. I've never seen a sign where I'm going down a 3-lane road and it says center lane ends, merge left or right. Doesn't happen. That's the first thing. And here's the thing, in urban environments, in environments with high levels of traffic, lane changes are the most dangerous thing you can do. And even though we have a lot of mirrors, trucks have sensors on the right side, people still make mistakes. They still miss that car coming up the side. If you don't change lanes, you cannot possibly hit somebody while changing a lane. So stay out of the right lane in urban areas. Why? Because then you don't have to move over when there's oncoming traffic. You don't have to slow when there's oncoming traffic. You also don't have the phenomenon of people like right hooking you. And right hooking is where it's not a haymaker from Mike Tyson. It's where you're in the right lane, they're in the center, and then they're like, oh shit, my exit's there, wham, and they just cut right across in front of you. You cut all that out when you're not in that right lane. Okay, I'm not saying you don't have to pay attention to stuff, but there's a lot less you got to pay attention to. Just move with traffic in those center lanes, right? Stay out of the right lane. The other thing, when there's multiple lanes, when there's more than two, you don't have to move over when there's somebody on the shoulder, or when there's somebody on the shoulder that didn't get all the way out of the travel lanes. Okay, there's a million things. You have less to think about, less to do, less to worry about when you're in that center lane. It makes your life easier. It makes you safer. Also, when you're going through small towns, and a perfect example of this was just last night in Guyman, Oklahoma. So my trainee was driving. We're on US 54 headed down towards Tucumcari. I say, get in the left lane going through town. Now, the qualification to that is unless there's a lane restriction. Don't go in lanes that are restricted. That's an easy way to get a ticket. It's like, if you're there, you're busted, right? Like, they don't have to know how fast you were going. They don't have to know anything. If you're in that restricted lane, you're busted, right? If they want to. So, but if it's not restricted, right? Get in the left lane going through small towns, or even commercial areas where there's, 50,000 businesses on either side. So let's take this scenario. It's two lanes going each way, and there's that center left turn lane, okay? Well, get in the left lane, and here's why. First of all, a lot of times those right lanes are curved, and they're actually smaller than the left lane. You have less room for error. The other thing that happens in those right lanes, drains. Boom, 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 boom. It's just not good for your truck or your neck, okay? The other thing that happens, people get right hooked. The other thing that goes on is if you get left crossed, which is also not a Mike, it could be a Mike Tyson punch, but it's not. It's where somebody turns left in front of you. They're gonna clear your lane of travel first. If they're turning left into a business and there's two lanes, they clear your lane of travel first, okay? You're less likely to T-bone them because they're coming left to right and you're in the left lane. The other reason, another reason, and this is exactly what happened last night. So what happens? We go into Guyman. I say to my trainee, get in the left lane. First of all, it gives her more room to maneuver. It gives her an out, right? Like, that's one of the Smith system principles. Give yourself an out. She has an out. If something crazy happens in that left lane in front of her, she has an out in that left turn lane, as long as nobody's there. But it is someplace she can go. But it's easier to go into that left turn lane than it is to go over the curb onto the sidewalk, into a business, whatever. Okay, that's one thing. It gives you an out. But the second reason, and this is exactly what happened last night. So here's the scenario. Prime truck putting through in the left lane at the posted speed limit, right? Because you wouldn't go faster than that in a small town, would you? Well, some people would. Like a UPS truck towing a van, and a truck from Heil or H-E-Y-L. They're out of Iowa, got bought out by whatchamacallits. Okay, so the Heil guy comes up beside us, right? He's like right here. I'm watching, I'm looking in the mirrors. There's a motorcycle, and so the UPS and the Heil guy are going faster than we are, but we're going the posted speed limit. There's a motorcycle in the right lane. The motorcycle is going along. They creep up behind him to the point where they're both following the vehicle in front of them too close. The UPS guy's up the motorcycle's ass, and the Heil guy is up the UPS guy's ass. Well, guess what happens? And this is the other reason you never get in that lane. The motorcycle inexplicably wants to turn right. Imagine that, making a right turn from the right lane. The motorcycle turns. Well, guess what? You know, even a motorcycle with bad brakes stops faster than a semi, right? It slows faster than a semi. You could just freaking, put your feet down like Fred Flintstone or something. And so the motorcycle is like, oh, here's my turn, blinker, bam. UPS guy almost hits the motorcycle, and guess what the Heil guy does? He almost slams into the UPS guy, because then Prime, us, is okay. There's a Prime guy towing a fifth wheel that has a shredded tire. I kid you not, a Prime Peterbilt towing a fifth wheel. Anyway, I was going to show you that, but anyway, sorry about the glare. So the Heil guy or whatever, he wants to move left, but he can't. Why? Because we're beside him. And now you might say, well, why are you staying there? Well, we're not staying there. He caught up to us, but he puts his blinker on like he's coming over. I'm like, F you, dude. You're following that other truck too close, and now you want to bail. But your bailout is taken up. And it wouldn't have mattered if it was us or a car. He wasn't going anywhere. We were doing nothing wrong, but we were in the safer position. So, to recap, multi-lane, meaning more than two, I know multi is two, but 3 or more lanes, get out of the right lane on urban interstates. Now, if you're out in the sticks and it's 3 lanes, like there are places like that, I can think of lots of places, like in Kentucky, there's places on I-70 in Ohio that are like that. There's a lot of places there's 3 lanes. Pennsylvania Turnpike. If that's because they have a climbing lane, don't stay out of that center lane unless you're passing a slower truck. But urban interstates, the speed limit for trucks in California is 55. If you're going 55 in that center lane or the right center lane, you are totally within the law, and you're in a much safer place. Don't worry or even care about what anybody thinks and about who's piling up behind you. That's their problem. Your job is to not cause an accident and keep yourself safe and deliver your load in one piece and come home in one piece. That's your job. So if you're a new driver, I hope this video emboldens you and makes you understand how to be safer on the road and how to provide yourself with more options in case there is something crazy going on. Okay? Keep your head up, stay focused. And by the way, I just read, okay, 2 final items. I hope you hear these because they're both kind of funny. Driver in North Las Vegas gets T-boned by a train the other day. You know what he said the reason was? Because he was focused on his GPS. Okay? How many times have you heard it? Don't drive distracted. GPS is a distraction. And a lot of people have badmouthed me on my channel about not letting trainees use GPS, and I've explained why. And so, I do let them use it, by the way. But it's a tool. It doesn't drive your frickin' truck. GPS is not going to be like, hey, dumbass, those blinking lights mean a train is about to hit you. That's not GPS's job. GPS is a distraction. It helps. It's a helpful tool, but it's a distraction too. That's one. And if you don't think women have arrived in the trucking industry, let me share this item with you. The other day, there was a drunk truck driver at a truck stop. And I think her name was Laura. And somebody called the police. The police show up. In fact, I I can't remember where it was, but I know I read the story, but it's slipping my mind. But there's Love's and there's a Flying J there. Anyway, she was at this Flying J. They call the police. Police show up and they're like, "Hey, people say you're intoxicated." And she was like trying to leave the truck stop. She punches one of the cops, and then the cops have to like drag her out of the truck and down onto the ground and stuff. So when you're talking drunk trucker punching a cop at a truck stop, you're part of the team now. You are a super trucker. You have arrived, my woman. So congratulations to her for repping our Highway Diamonds. And I don't know what company she was with. I hope she wasn't with Prime, but I just thought, yep, you're here. So congratulations on that. Anyway, thanks for hanging with me if you're still here, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.